dared me when I went on vacation to find some new material. And so this morning it's Travis's fault. I like to blame other people. So if the jokes aren't funny, I can say, well, they weren't for me. But if any of you are on Facebook with Travis, she posted some jokes this week. They were the sayings of the Jewish Buddha. Now, you probably didn't know that there was a Jewish Buddha, and you have to understand Jewish humor to get these, okay? And the first one's a little scary for me because this week I'm flying out to see my son in California, and the first saying of the Jewish Buddha is, we know here in Unity, wherever you go, there you are. Your luggage is another story. But we all know the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single oy vey, which is kind of like my 5-minute mind, so I relate to that, okay? And the next one is accept misfortune as a blessing. Don't wish for perfect health or life without problems. What would you talk about? What would we talk about if we didn't have our stuff, right? Well, today we're going to talk about life is consciousness, as we always talk about in Unity. Whatever's going on out there in your life reflects something in here. And it's not always real simple. It's not always an exact mirror. I always joke that if there's a jerk in your life, it doesn't mean you're a jerk. But maybe you haven't healed some jerk issues in your life that happened to you in the past. So everything is reflecting something in here. Emmett Fox, the great Emmett Fox, may he rest in peace, coined the phrase, life is consciousness. And he said we have the key to life, and that key is the knowledge that life is a state of consciousness or a state of mind. The explanations of all your problems, all your difficulties, all your triumphs in life boil down to this: life is a state of consciousness. And there's so much that affects that. That's why it's not always easy to get. A lot of it is subconscious. A lot of it are those pre-birth choices we made before coming in for our life purpose. So it can be a lot of things, and sometimes it takes some introspection. So you have to ask yourself, what is in my consciousness that may not be mine? Because some of the stuff in here isn't really what we believe are ours. Mass consciousness has every thought and idea and belief out there in the ethers. And sometimes I feel like flypaper. Remember the old flypaper? Did you grow up with flypaper? And we've seen ideas and thoughts get stuck on us like old flypaper. Can you relate to that? And then you wake up one day and say, what am I thinking? That's not mine. That's not mine. So today the most important bumper sticker I've ever read, and this is the one. The bumper sticker that said, don't believe everything you think. Especially if what you're thinking isn't really what you believe. So, it's like flypaper. Get rid of it. Shake it out. Get rid of it. Jesus told us, be in the world but not of it. Be in the world. He had to put up with this stuff too. He had his own flypaper, I'm sure. That our human programming, all those ideas flying around out there, are from fear and separation and lack and all that. And we know in Unity we're one with the divine. We could have a kingdom of God consciousness, which is all about love and oneness and unity and the all-sufficiency of God. And Jesus knew these things, and he was an awakened master that taught these truths 5 different ways. And today we're going to look at the 5 different ways that he taught these truths. The first way we talk about often are his stories, his parables. Where do you think he got his stories, huh? And he talked a lot about sheep and lost sheep. And in Luke, there's a wonderful story. He told them this parable. Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls his friends and neighbors together, saying, rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost. Now, it's a real sweet story, and you always see pictures of Jesus with a little sheep on his shoulder. But sense if you take it literally, because we cannot be lost. We are forever in the mind of God. God can't lose us any more than, I can lose my head, although I do some days, it feels like. And God would never leave 99 of us to find one. God can't leave us. God is us. So that doesn't make sense literally. But if we read this story in the deep esoteric symbolism from which it was told, it's all in the mind. It's all the deeper truths. Sheep represent those innocent, peaceful thoughts of truth when you're living from that higher state of oneness and love and knowing the truth. And the lost sheep are those thoughts of fear and separation, those flypaper thoughts that get into us. Fear, worry, anxiety, anger, resentment, unforgiveness. And we become lost in mind. And one tiny thought can take us away from the truth. Anyone ever been up all night worried about something? Come on, I'm not the only one, am I? For example, you do a job and 99 people say you did great. But one person comes up and tells you everything wrong about it. Which one do you think of when you go to bed that night? See how one little thought. So when you count your sheep at night, it's not about counting little invisible sheep. Your prayers are your thoughts of truth. Would you repeat with me? I don't believe everything I think. Together? I don't believe everything I think. I am one with the divine source and substance. Together? I am one with divine source and substance. Divine love guides me in all I do. Together? Divine love guides me in all I do. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Together? Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. And that's counting your sheep. Now, let's go to a few more sayings of the Jewish Buddha. I don't want to give up on him yet. The Torah says, love your neighbor as yourself. The Buddha says there is no self, so maybe we're off the hook. Or my personal favorite, if there is no self, whose arthritis is this? There's no escaping karma. In a previous life, you never called, you never wrote, you never visited, and whose fault was that? Anyway, okay. Back to Jesus. Jesus taught empowering principles of truth, and those are the principles that we teach here at Unity. Natural laws of the universe that are the same for everyone, universal laws, like the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction. Forgiven, you will be forgiven. The measure you give, you shall receive. As a man soweth, so shall he reap. In other words, an inside job in consciousness. And the third way he taught was through his actions, how he lived his life. And I love the story of his healing on the Sabbath, because, of course, in the old laws, you couldn't work on the Sabbath. Anybody grow up with you weren't supposed to work on the Sabbath? I remember growing up. I helped my mother move a TV one day, and I thought, I'm going to burn in hell forever. Did you grow up? And people wonder why I am the way I am. But here's one of my favorite stories. Jesus went to the synagogue, found a man with a shriveled hand, and some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, stand up in front of everyone. And then he asked everyone out there, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save a life or to kill? But they remained silent. They couldn't answer him. So he looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, stretch out your hand. He stretched it out, and he was completely healed. You gotta love him, don't you? You gotta love him. Jesus taught the law of love. If it's not love, it's not of God. Love God, love others as yourself. And then he went and taught non-judgment with the group that wanted to stone the woman caught in adultery. What did he say to them? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And they walked away. See, our minds are in constant judgment. Along with all that flypaper out there, in the world of duality, of opposites, we live in constant judgment. We're judging all the time and we don't even know it. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. I'm happy, I'm sad, it's true, it's blah, 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 blah. You get it? We're there all the time, trying to put things on one side or the other. We live in constant judgment. I like the way my life is going today. I'm not happy tomorrow. My favorite Zen story, and I know you've heard this before, so I'm going to have you help me since you know it already, is the farmer and his son on the farm. And the horse broke free and ran away. Their horse ran away. Their income would be lost with their horse running away. And the neighbors said, "Oh, such bad luck." And the farmer, now I know you know this, so I'm going to say the line, memorize it, because I'm going to ask you to repeat it a few times. The farmer said, maybe good luck, maybe bad luck, who knows? Together, maybe good luck, maybe bad luck, who knows? Next day, the horse reappears with 3 other magnificent mares. And the neighbors say, what incredible luck. And the farmer says, maybe good luck, maybe bad luck, who knows? A few days later, the farmer's son was training those wild mares, and he was thrown to the ground and broke a leg. And what did the neighbors say? Oh, such awful luck. And the farmer said, maybe good luck, maybe bad luck, who knows? Days later, soldiers came to town looking for men for the army, and here they saw the farmer's son had a broken leg. They couldn't take him. And the neighbors said, oh, that's the only boy in town they're not taking. You should consider yourself so lucky. And what did the farmer say? Maybe good luck, maybe bad luck. Who knows? Now put that into your own life. Don't we do that to ourselves? Oh, I don't like what's happening. I don't want to do that. I can't be the only one in here that does that, can I? Maybe good luck, maybe bad luck. Who knows? Who knows? Our life is our spiritual path, and there's a reason for everything in it. If we don't resist, if we don't fight it, if we don't get attached to how we think it should be. Now finally, Jesus taught through miracles, through demonstration of the power we have when we know our union with God. Not power over others or over earth or over animals or birds, but power over what? Our state of mind. We can take that flypaper down. We can move it to a different room. We can shake it out. I don't know how many of you know Reverend Johnny Coleman, but she had one of the biggest unity churches in Chicago. And she eventually broke off and started her own organization. But one of the greatest lines, and I think TK put it in the bulletin for you. We may put it in again next week too. And I left one line out in the bulletin, but I may put it in again next week because the whole thing is very powerful. When we have the consciousness of the presence of God wherever we are, when we have a realization of the place on which we stand is holy ground, when we hear God say, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine, when we have that consciousness of faith, we will have the power to manifest all that we need and more. Now that's some flypaper I'd like to have stick. Huh? That's something I'd like to have stick. So for this week's practice of denials and affirmation, will you repeat after me? The first is a denial, which simply means diffusing the energy around it. I refuse to believe everything I think. Together? I refuse to believe everything I think. And now the affirmation, I abide in the safety of divine love. Together? I abide in the safety of divine love. I trust the power of the presence. Together? I trust the power of the presence. So when the tornadoes come gently down, what did they say in Oklahoma? When something comes across the plains, I really messed that up. What do you say? You say, wherever I am, God is, right? Let's say that together right now. Wherever I am, God is. Nothing to be afraid of, okay? So, do you want me to quit there, or do you want to hear more jokes? More jokes, okay. Some more sayings of the Jewish Buddha. Drink tea and nourish life. With the first sip, joy. With the second sip, satisfaction. With the third sip, peace. And the fourth, a Danish. The Tao does not speak. The Tao does not blame. The Tao does not take sides. The Tao has no exceptions. The Tao demands nothing of others. The Tao is not Jewish. And finally, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Forget this, and attaining enlightenment will be the least of your problems. Thank you, Travis. Okay, let's take that all into prayer. Oh, let's just breathe it out. Life can be so effortless if we forget that all we have to do is show up and allow God to be God in us. Allow whatever comes before us to be. The grace of God guides us through it. The wisdom of God shows us the way. The strength of God sustains us. And all unfolds in perfect divine order as we simply allow God to be God in us. And we are grateful once again in each other's presence. And so it is.